Okay. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Saber Academy. Darth Anonymous coming to you from TPLA HQ in Michigan. We are all still under lockdown, but that's okay. We can still do our thing. So we've been bringing these to you here in the home. I'm also going to be starting up, and we will be continuing these online classes. We'll be doing some free stuff, but there's going to be some big things coming up here in May 4th, that should interest a lot of people and give a lot of people more opportunities to connect, train, and do stuff with us. So, there you go. Anyway, so hello everybody here on the chat. I am seeing everybody. Michael, Eric, good to see you guys. Hello from Russia. Hello back. And hello from Florida. Very good. So far. Oh, and we've got Puerto Rico checking in as well so far. I'm sure there's other of you out there, but feel free to throw questions up there as we go. We'll do the first half, me pretty much just showing stuff, and then we'll open it up. Okay, so today we'll continue our exploration of the 4 pillars, the first 4 forms in our system. Shicho being the foundation, Makashi form 2 being the mechanics and all of that of single combat. And now we are on part 3. Part 3 is, by lore, supposed to be very defensive. This particular formula does focus on defense. Now, one thing that should be noted, and we've noted this before, there is no such thing as a 100% defensive style or technique. Sometimes the only defense is an offense. Whether it just be threatening somebody with an attack, whether it's beating their weapon out of the way, there is always some manner of back and forth that has to happen. There you go. Anyhoot, so Suresu Formula 3 is going to focus on defense. Now, defense is going to require a couple of things. First of all, it's going to require a little bit of body work and physical movement. We will add 3 stances today. This is, tacked on to the other stances. One thing that I will kind of be returning to here a little bit, and what I want everybody to keep in mind, is that all of these things build on each other, so it's not like one supersedes the next. What we're going to do here is we're going to add sophistication and utility to what we already have. So we already have some basic parries, some basic strikes, some basic maneuvers around the body, keeping us, safe and that kind of thing. We also have in Formula 2, we have all of our defensive spheres. So now we've created this in our mind that we now have a perimeter around us that we can keep people out of or entreat people to come in if we want them to do something. So Suresu and this formula is all about that. So we'll go through that, and we'll show you how orbits is very simple exercise. It can be made useful, and how people should kind of approach it. And we might touch on to things that it is not, and then we'll go. Okay, so we shall proceed. First off, I will. Okay. So most of this is so most of this we'll start off. Well, what we'll do is we'll start off with the stances here first, and then we'll move on. So switch us back here real quick. And angle that down so we can see a little bit better. Good. Okay. So we have our basic 3 stances. We have our do-back rider here. We have our front stance there, right? And of course, we have our kneeling stance. Okay. So we've got those 3. We're counting this stance as kind of a non-stance. It's kind of just our ready position. It's kind of neutral for us. Okay. Whereas in barehanded styles, this may be neutral. This is going to be neutral for us in weapons. Okay. All right. So we'll skip over that. We've got those 3. Now, next up is drop stance. Okay. So we're going to be here. And what we're going to do is we're going to crouch down real low on this foot over here. Okay? And what this is going to do is this is going to extend our knee straight forward. If you were with us for Kung Fu, or you tuned in later and saw the stream there, you'll know it's totally okay to let the knee go past the toe. It has to go past the toe. Just make sure that it doesn't drift in on you like this. Okay. So we want to keep it right over the foot, going the same angle as the foot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn toward the other foot, and then we just sit down on this foot without letting the heel come up. So the foot stays flat on the ground as we drop down like that. Okay? And then we can go to the other side. Just like that. Okay? It's related to our front stance here, as you see. Just like that. Right? It's going to give us a good back and forth lateral, up and down, dodging kind of mobility. Okay, so next, our twist stance, or twist and sit stance, depending on how you want to look at it. So we're here. We're going to turn here, this foot here, and let this foot here. Now, we are totally nice and tight in there. Our legs are crossed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send this knee through this side of my leg here, crossing my feet. Now the side of my foot is pointing forward here. Okay? And then I sit onto the back heel. Just like that. Okay? And then twist back up. And if I twist to the other side, the same thing. Side going that way. Lace the feet together. And then down like that. Okay? That again allows us to raise and lower ourselves very efficiently. Okay? Next one, a false step. You got one foot here. This is basically a one-legged stance. So if I'm standing here, hold my leg up like this. Go this way. I think the light, a little better. Okay. See, I keep this leg bent. I don't lower it. I lower this on my hip to bring this foot down. And that can go either way. Up and down. Okay? Now, what this is, like I said, that's a false step. So I'm here. I have committed no weight to this foot, right? But it still can appear that I have weight on it. Okay? Now that will allow us to very quickly change stance, move forward, whatever. But in a training sense, what it's going to do is really accentuate full and empty in your feet. Okay? So one leg is full, one leg is empty, and vice versa. There we go. Okay? So now these stances are going to allow you to have dynamics. Right? In the form you'll see that we do this stance here, we stay low and we step through, and then we come up. And I kind of went out of frame. You cover a lot of distance with this kind of stuff. Okay. But the point is you're going to get to this point here, like this, and you're going to stand up. And you see, this foot never has any weight on it, so it can float right up on it. Okay? All right. There we go. All right, so we've got those 3 new stances there to destroy our lower body with. Now, to the thing that everybody wants to do, everybody loves. And, get another color. Ooh, that's not good. That's a very weird effect that the chroma key is having on there. Let me see if I can get to a color that doesn't. That's okay. Not perfect, but maybe I should just turn it off. Yep, looks like it. Okay, so usually the glowy stick is the thing, but here with the background, not so much. Maybe I'll do a little darkened room, near the end. Anyway, so what we have going now is with our upper body is orbits. These are what everybody likes. These are what everybody likes to practice. They're very intuitive, all of this kind of stuff. We're going to lay down some specific rules before we get into it. Number 1, as you are doing this stuff, you are not to open your hand. Okay? All fingers, at least from this part of your hand up, must be touching the saber. Now that gives you plenty of mobility. You see, without moving anything in my arm, just releasing and squeezing my grip, I get this much movement and this much play out of my weapon. Okay? Now, it's going to be counterintuitive, but what I want you to do is I want you to forget about the wrist. Everybody thinks it's all in the wrist. I disagree. This is going to be in your arm, mostly in your shoulder, and as we're going through here, and this is where we're going to start So, these are the things. Ready? Do not let go like this, and do not just use your wrist. Right? Don't think about powering it through the wrist. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, so, anywho, we'll get to that in a moment. So, what are orbits, first of all? Right? Some people say they're parries, some people say they're this, that, and the other. They're not really anything. They are, they're like stitching. Okay? Practicing sword flowers, as we say in Chinese martial art, like this, right? Is a weapon handling exercise. basically, we're getting used to feeling where the weight is, where the balances are, how we can change direction. Because if you've done this for any length of time, you'll know that the challenge with all of this is that we have to change direction. And we have to change direction with something that is outside of our body. That means that we have to act on it. Right? We'll get into that. Now, there's a whole big chain of stuff that happens here. Okay? But the main idea is that we are being able to maneuver our saber around our body so that we can bring it to any position that we need to in the quickest, most efficient, and maybe only possible way. Right? Because remember, in a real life situation, when we interact with the opponent, they will be blocking a certain number of avenues, right? We won't be able to go through, we won't be able to go in a particular number of places because they're just going to be in the way, right? Which means we have to then reverse our trajectory, try to come around, and we have to figure out all kinds of novel ways of doing that. Now, before we get into the vertical orbits, which is all the spinning stuff, let's talk about the horizontal. And this is going to be relating to our shifting parries that we do in Shisha, right? So as we're here, now we can do this, of course, with two hands. Right? What we're going to do is this halo orbit that we already practice, right? When you come through, we're going to come through as far as we can. This is going to help loosen up our shoulder, give us a little bit of shoulder stretch, all of that kind of thing. It's also going to help us figure out what's going on with our blade. Because, again, another thing with this, when we get into weapon handling, is all of these things are so that we can, again, maneuver the weapon safely around. This is very important for lightsabers since we cannot touch ourselves with our own blade. This is not something that is a concern with conventional weapons. We let the blade touch us all the time. We grab the blade all the time. People that I remember, a lot of people said if you're worried about the crossguard hurting you in the crossguard saber and you're doing something wrong, it's like, look, it's hard enough not to grab the regular blade when you're coming from regular swordplay. But anywho, the point is you see, I'm trying to get this to go close to my body and not touch me, right? So that I'm taking up as little space around me as possible, right? But I'm protecting as much as I can here, okay? Now, let's look at what we're dealing with from our previous experience. Okay? We've got our shifting parries, which we're doing right here. Okay? This is essentially how we're going to take our shifting parry all the way around us. And you see, on the other side, we have a shifting parry with the blade pointing down. Okay? When you get deeper into Formula 2, you get into Zenith and Nadir, where the hilt is higher, Zenith, lower, Nadir. Because we have those two positions always to worry about. Don't worry about that yet. That's just an added little bonus for people who might like those types of little nuggets. It's not important. It's just an organizational thing. Anywho, taking this saber around us. We're not hitting. We're going around all the way there. Okay? And you see, don't be afraid to use your body. Now, what else are we using here? Formula 2, chromosphere. See that? Spinning this on the chromosphere. Right? And there you have it. Okay? That's how these things kind of stitch in with each other. Okay? With music. Okay? We're still in our basics. If you think of sheet show as you're getting your scales, just learning your notes. Right? In the Mukashi, you're learning some chords. And here you're learning different styles of chords and how to put those in together into compositions and so forth. That comes later. Right now, focus on just this. Okay? This is going to be important with your vertical ones too, because this is the vertical line. Now notice, when I come through here like this, if I want to go to my front, I got to turn my body. And that's really the key. When we get further into this, there is a lot of overlap between this and Atari. So the defensive and the offensive are going to be very close to each other, as it were. So, okay. So that's our horizontal orbits, the halo orbit right there. We're going to try to go there. Now there's designations for going inside and outside. Again, we leave that for later. I'll probably be doing, due to popular demand, doing some more in-depth workshops for, we'll figure out the ticketing system where for a nominal fee and set up some Zoom things where people can interact with us and we can have a legitimate back and forth with some people, and then we can have people just look on. But anyway, that's coming. Stay tuned for that. Anyway, okay. So now we are vertical orbits. So now we're going in this plane here. And like before, and like we always said, we are looking at it as kind of stages of rotation here. So we looked at the blade in Form 2. Here we're going to look at the arm, see what's happening here at the hand, elbow, shoulder, waist, and then of course footwork. So all of that is going to come into the picture now. Now with vertical orbits, it's, as I said, all on the shoulder. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off in the shoulder. Our major orbits are these big ones, which are going to take our entire body, weapon, everything like this. If you're doing ASL FFE, here's where you can get a lot of your practice in engagement arming. Here. So we're concerned about moving this weapon all around us, you see, and we're now at our furthest point out. Now, yes, do this, if you're doing this inside, use it as a exercise for precision, right, when you get out there. Now the dynamic is this. As I go faster, my circle will get small. And my weapon will not go as far behind me as it does, right? And then that gets me to this. Okay? Now, let's switch it over here. Well, maybe I can get away with it. The autofocus on this camera is very, very touchy. Anyway, you see? Yeah. I don't know if it's going to work. There we go. Okay. So now, when this turns here, you see we're using this rotation here, and what this turns into is it turns into a stab, right? So my orbit, when it's going this way, is a stab. Stab. Boom. Right? When I'm doing this, I feel kind of like I'm doing that, okay? Now this is something that we call the pump, right? Our arm is involved in this motion. It is not all in the wrist, it is not all in the hand, okay? The movement may be centered here, but that requires the hand and the wrist to be loose and not tight and not producing motion, but rather accommodating it, right? We're trying to let the weapon take itself around in particular motions. This is why we like a balance point that's out from the hand rather than at the hand, because we can get some mechanical advantage by just letting it drop. You see? That's almost nothing I'm doing. I'm letting go. There. See? Turn my hand over. And that's it. Focus. Okay. A lot is done this. Now people who are just kind of like tossing it around, you know, like a baton and doing the spinning stuff, they're not going to have much of a reason not to let go like that, because they're going to be letting it slip in and out of their hand anyway. Here we're talking about how this is applied if you're looking to do this for sport and what the value of this particular exercise is. Because a lot of people don't see value in it. Right? They think it's just show. If you do it in a particular way, yes, it is pretty showy and that, right? But as you see here, my hand is constantly, disappearing. My hand is constantly on. And again, I've got this play, so I use this play. As I go around, I let it drop, you see, and I open it up, and then when it comes around here, it gets to about here, I just close my hand. You see? Boom. 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 Okay? So, are these parries? They're not really parries. What they are movements between parries, right? So if something's coming in towards this side, my parry is here, right? Some version of a drop parry that I arrive at by allowing my saber to go here. And this is exactly why you don't let go, right? Because if I'm here and I incur something, it's going to push this back. I have to be able to brace my saber here, right? See how the tip comes up? So that's going to counteract that when it comes through. If I do not have my fingers there, at the very least, that strike's going to come through and hit me anyway. And I'm not going to affect the parry. Okay? So that's what we got to think about. Also, if I'm sitting here, and I'll try turning this on here again, right? And I'm going here. We have to remember that when we're doing this, again, we're using the idea that we formulated and started to work on in Formula 2 in Makashi. Okay? Going from here to here to here. Right? That's what we're going to think about. See? I come to here. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that works? So it's no longer just la 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 la. It actually has meaning. Right? There. Now, back to the pump. I've never finished that. Okay? The pump is this. We're using our waist, our arm, and our shoulder, and our elbow, and our hand, all in concert with each other, so no one joint and no one thing has to take the lion's share of the load. Right? This makes it very, very efficient. Okay? So, I'm going to, as I go back, see how my arm kind of goes back here a little bit? Now that allows me to turn my hand a little bit more and allows the saber just, if I do nothing, if I just let it drop, I get it there. See? That's all I have to go to. Okay. So now I'm going here, boom, boom. And that's the same thing. This is here, see? There's that thrust. Right? If we continue to this side, we thrust here again. Right? Hitting with that tip. Okay? It all relates. Okay? So this pump going in and out. It seems like more movement. So people say, "Oh, economy of movement." Economy of this is the definition of economy of movement, where each joint is doing just a little bit, and it's creating a global change which is greater than the sum of its parts. You have a little bit of waist motion, okay, like this, pushing it back and forth, right? Obviously, you have the shoulder, okay. The elbow stays loose and reactive, okay. And your hands are turning like this. Remember this good old exercise we were doing last time, right? So what happens is you can get this going, and you can keep this going indefinitely. Your arm just won't get tired, right? It takes some time, though, to get the mechanics going, right? Because it's all about mechanics, right? If you get the mechanics going, everything moves smoothly. If you don't have those going, then you're in trouble. Now, if you're just doing the hand, one of the things you'll see is that I actually very few times do I cross my center woohoo, in a target, right? So if I'm here, you see, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, right? Moving that arm, pumping it, and thinking about crossing my center like this, now you can see that it's got use, right? Up, down, there. Okay? Good. So keep that in mind. Now when you go up, it's easier to keep track of because you want to make a cut, right? And that's the other thing. When you go to the other side, these are cuts rather than thrusts. So we're going here. You see? If you do not cross your center line and you do not cross your body from a target zone, you are affecting no parry. Right? If I do this, I haven't done anything. Unless they're coming from there and then I'm going the wrong direction. I should be going that way. So, basic rules of thumb for that. Trick, obviously, as we did in the exercise that you see in the workouts, right? the circle is 1. So if I'm going this way, I'm going down. And if I'm going this way, I'm going up. And that's where you're going to get your thing. So let's talk about this one real quick, and then we'll get to the questions here. Yep, about time. We'll go a little over here, but that's okay. So, the eclipse orbit here, Obi Annie, the plum blossom, whatever people call it. Chinese martial arts, as I said, flower usually just behind the back. Mm-hmm. Now, what we're doing, you see, is not really going behind the back. What I'm doing is I'm taking my saber there. I'm going to turn this way. So you can see it. There. So what is this? What exactly are we? Right? Do I expect you to parry something like that? Parry behind the back? No, that would be. It would not be effective, and just don't try it. Or try it and see what happens. But wear your gear. Anyway, so what this is, again, it's handled. If I get my blade caught in this position here, how do I get it out? Right? If I go up, I can't go. Right? The other person's there. I can't go to the side because their weapon's in the way, and I can't go back because I'm at the limit of my flexibility. Right? That's where this comes in. Okay? As I get in here like this, I can then bring it out. Big circles become little circles. Little circles become very useful. Right? I have, if you are into the grappling and stuff like that, at times when somebody pushes your weapon behind your back like this, you have to turn out of it and try to get the weapon out as quickly as you can and back into an on guard position. So those are those things. So, that's what that is. Okay. Most of the time, though, most people are just using this thing. If you have any problems with it, see, I'm just basically turning it upside down and putting it to my hip. Boom. And then I turn my body and come in. All right. Let us see what we got. So we've got, all right, good. Bonjour, the people in France. Oh, good. Somebody from Poland. How are you? I don't know what time it is though. Over there. Dziękuję. That's thank you. Whatever. I'm not doing well right now, language-wise. I won't even try. Okay, so let's see what we got. Do we have anybody? Right hand dominant, so that means that I always lead off with the right foot. You don't always lead off with the right foot. You want to do both. And that's a good point. Maybe I forgot to go over that. I'll go over that here a little bit with the footwork. The footwork is important because it's going to give you the added mobility there. So when we are in either attack stance or defense stance, right? That's one thing. If you're doing this, you want to be really, really candid about it. You start in defense stance. So you start with your non-dominant foot forward, right? And you start here. Okay, and we will usually do a false step. So we're basically on one foot, right? And you start going like this. And the reason is because you want to get the cross pattern in your body moving first. I'll turn this way again here. So you see how one leg is forward and then my opposite arm is moving. Okay, and the same thing here. Okay. Now, what this is because if I catch somebody in a bind on this, right, like this, okay, if I have my dominant foot forward, I'm not as stable. Okay, this is lined up with the gap in my stance right here. There's nothing holding me up at this angle. So there's not, it's very difficult for me to hold anything. When I'm like this, on the other hand, right, this is coming in and going across my body, going back into my back heel. Okay, so that's one of the concerns. Now, a lot of this is going to have to do with grappling and getting in really close and that kind of thing. And that's not always going to be allowed, especially in the sport. So keep that in mind. A lot of this stuff you're not necessarily going to use in a sporting context. Okay. Doo-doo-doo. All right. Yes, the green screen is getting on. It's that one cam. I gotta figure out that cam. Its chroma key is not as good as this cam here, but this is connected to my computer, so I can't move it around. Anyway. Yes, how to deflect blaster fire. That's obviously a thought experiment, right? But if you think about it, same principles would apply. You have to be able to move your saber through any area that would be hit, and it should move across as much surface area in front of you as you can get it to. For coverage sake. So think of blaster fire as many very, very fast little stabs. All right. Is there any disadvantage to favoring defense stance in matches? There's no inherent disadvantage to any one thing. It's all a matter of how you use it. Defense stance. We only call defense stance because we're contrasting it with attack stance. It's not defensive in and of itself. It's it's not that kind of thing. But what it does do is it does set up a dynamic by which you can follow up with a passing step. And that is often times where people like to go. They like to react to something coming in and to be able to take a passing step into attack. And non-dominant foot forward is going to be the thing that's going to give you the most opportunity to do that, as it were. So the lightsaber rotates on the outside of the arm, not on the inside. No, it does rotate on the inside. You have to go both ways. Let's the traditional Chinese way that I was taught, right, is that you have, uh, there, we call it 5 flowers, right? So we've got 5 flowers. We've got 1 flower here, 1 flower here, right? 1 flower here, 1 flower here, and then this one, right? So if we do all of those together, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back to 5, right? So in like that, okay? These are just as important, right? Because remember, we have to go both ways. So we're going here to bring up our pairs, right? You see? In like that. Now notice when I lift this up, if I'm using my saber correctly, the blade moves, right? So there's a little bit of motion that's going to counteract any motion coming in, right? Now it's not going to counteract all of it unless you really like swing at it. And I don't recommend that because what will happen is you will if you miss, that will fly out. We want to be precise and here. Now, one good trick is when you're about to make contact with something, just squeeze your handle. Okay? Just like that. Squeeze it firmly and gently. Now, this is different from putting a death grip on it. When you're holding something with death grip, it just means you're hanging on for dear life and stuff like that. This is a dynamic squeeze, right? Just like this. Okay, so as my saber is moving around, I'm going to squeeze it, right? Just like that. So, yeah, when it looks like it is going to the back. Well, yeah, so, yeah, that starts, the behind the back starts from the outside, right? And then you take it underneath like that, and then you turn and just bring it out like that. There you go. All right, so do we have, let's see what we got here. Here we go. Michael asks, stances. With the Soresu stances, especially the low ones, I feel my legs have to take a lot more than in the former before. Any advice on how to keep our knees safe and intact? So knees. Always remember that your knees are joints by which force and stuff transfers through, right? So the force is going either from the ground into my body or from the body into the ground, right? We don't want it to get stuck in the knee, and that's why it bends. Now, the knee bends in one plane of motion, at least it's intended to. It has a little bit of sway back and forth just to keep it safe. It has to be able to accommodate that kind of stuff. But if it goes too far in either of those directions, that's where injury is going to occur. It also does not tolerate twisting very, very, very well at all. So the biggest thing you want to do is be able to keep that knee steady and in control, and as we say, tracking with the foot. It should always, if your foot is pointed this way, your knee should be pointed that way as well. Okay, I'll show again here. Dip it down. So if I'm here, right, and here, let's take again. Let's go back to the beginning, and we'll go back to kneeling. As I turn, you see, my knees and my feet stay together, right? So I'm turning from the hip, right? I don't want to turn anywhere from the leg. I want to turn here at the hip. So when I go here like this, like that, right? Like in a Wing Chun stance, right? Biomechanically proper one, you should be, the femur should be rotated in, right? Like that. Okay, not just buckled in. I didn't want to do that. We call that valgus collapse. Go ahead and look that up. But it's one of our enemies, as it were, for what we're doing with our knees. But yeah, so if you keep the knee and the toe aligned, right, that's going to keep it good. If you're finding that you're having pain above and below the knee, go back up to your hip and attend to your hip. Don't be afraid to stick your butt out. A lot of people try to do these things, which are cues that are given in usually group fitness classes like yoga and stuff like that. Never let the knee go beyond the toe. Completely irrelevant. Your knee can go as far past your toe as your ankle will allow it to. Right? The dynamic is at what angle is your lower leg and what angle is your upper body. Right? If they're at the same angle, then that means that the force and the weight and the pressure and the stress are all being centered in the hip. And the hip is designed to hold that. It's got all these gigantic muscles around it. It's a big, solid, hefty joint, right? And it's just built for holding us up. Right? Our knee is not. Our knee doesn't really have any muscles that cross it, right? They're just tendons, right? You can make an argument for some of your hamstrings, but there's not a lot of muscle that happens at the knee. It's a movement point, right? And the same thing with your ankle. Your ankle is another movement point, right? Your calf, your thigh, your hamstrings, they're there to control your knee, right? So there you go. You want to do exercises, deadlifting is the best thing you can do for them. Yeah, so the knees. Now, if you're as you go down, only go down as far as you can. Try to make sure that you're warmed up. And by warming up, I just mean like going through those stances, just real gentle. Start getting that movement patterned into your body so that you can go down kind of smoothly, right? If you have pain, now of course, these are just general tips. If you have specific pain, you have anything like that, go see a professional, someone who can look at you, figure out what's wrong. If you have existing issues with fitness or with injuries, if you're coming off of rehab, if you're somehow compromised in any sort of way, or you just don't know, and this is your first time in doing any type of exercise, just check with your doctor and make sure that everything is good. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even, even in my professional capacity, I can't give out specific information here because I'm not. That specific information is impossible to obtain without specific information. And I can't get that in these scenarios. However, there are ways that we can get that. But anyway, I won't be doing that here. Okay, so we got the stances there. If anything else, any other questions, we can check on Facebook and see if we got anybody asking anything there. Don't see anything. All right. All right, so we'll sum up today then with a little bit, just a kind of a wrap up. And hopefully you can see now how these things are building on each other, right? We're taking this information and this stuff, even though it looks so much different than what comes before it. It's all predicated upon what came before it. The simple two-handed strikes of Shicho and the basic manipulations of the Saber, together with what we learn in Akashi, is now kind of coming all to roost here in this last bit, right? So we're taking the things that we learn from the other forms, and as I said, we're adding sophistication to them. So we're adding a new dimension, a new angle, literally or figuratively, and that's how we're gonna go. Okay, so we've got one more question here. We've got, I practice holding the lower stances. How long should I honestly hold them, like twisted sit, for example? Now, so the lower stances in lower basin, as we say, like the ones we did today, these are not necessarily meant to be held very long. They are definitely more motion based. So I would practice them by with drop stance. You just drop into it and you go side to side and you work on that, staying as low as you can, and then when you do twisted sit, you stand and then you twist down, twist back up, twist down, twist back up, go both sides, right? And practice getting in and out of these stances, rather than trying to assume them and hold them for a very long time. As you get better going in and out of them, you will get stronger and more suited to hold them longer. But you'll never really be required to hold these lower stances for too long. Middle stances and the higher stances are the ones that generally you try to camp out in. The lower stances you visit, you don't stay. And again, that's really kind of focusing on the movement aspect of it, getting up and getting down, going back and forth, and that's really where the strength of those stances is, and that's why we practice them, anyway. To go into one of those low stances, hold it, and try to fight from there, I suppose you could do it. I think you would be putting yourself at a very large disadvantage. The hobby seems to be dying out a bit. Lightsabers. Doesn't seem to be doing that from our angle. We're busier than ever. So many groups and stuff out there, but I'm glad you found us. I'm glad you're here. We will continue to do this stuff into the future for sure. All right. We are coming to the end here, so we will we'll end it there. Remember that so much of this stuff is about movement, and not to get caught up too much in the particular positions and that kind of thing. If like one of the, and again, you can't really, I can't demonstrate because I don't have another person here, but like the throws and other things that come out of these low stances and things like that, kind of underscore what I'm talking about when I'm saying going in and out of them. And the same thing with the blade work, right? The whole point is how do I getting from point A to point B, as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Sometimes that is counterintuitive, right? If I use a bunch of my joints very small, very, very little, I can produce or use less energy and less effort to do the same or more amount of work than if I tried to just isolate one joint and use that one joint or that one limb. So it's really all about movement, going between things. This is the thing of change, right? So water, right? Everything about water is about its dynamics and about its movement, right? That kind of thing. So, all right. We will end there for today. Thank you for everybody who contributed to the chat and who asked questions. If you have any more, please leave them in the comments. We'll try to get to them maybe in a future show or something like that. We'll be doing shows all week. So we've got Tai Chi on Tuesdays, Kung Fu on Thursdays, Sword Lab Fridays, and Saber Academy on Saturdays. And keep a lookout for some of these special classes and stuff like that, where we'll have more interaction and stuff like that, maybe out of Zoom, and we'll figure out that. So yeah, we will hopefully see you around. Everybody stay safe and healthy. We will try to keep things going. I still have some videos coming up as well. So we'll keep those going as well as the live shows. So we got a lot of stuff coming for you. Keep you busy, keep you sane, and keep you happy. So if you have any requests, connect with us anywhere and let us know what you want to see, and maybe we'll be able to do something about it quick. All right. Patience, practice, perseverance. Happy sabering.